Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing studying from the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled as Knowledge of the Absolute. So the last two times we discussed about the first two sections, which is hearing and envisioning God's presence everywhere. And the last time we spoke about this concept of accept and reject. So the last time, just to summarize what we spoke about four types of people who don't come to Krishna or who reject Lord Krishna. The first is known as Moodha, or grossly foolish people. Then there is Naradhama, means the lowest of mankind. And then the third is Maya Aparita Jnana, that means those whose knowledge is stolen by delusion. And then Asuram Bhavam, that means those who have demonic mentality. Can get Gita? So today we will take up the next section, or the four types of people who accept Krishna. So the last time we spoke about four types of people who reject Krishna, and now we'll speak about four types of people who accept Krishna. So here Krishna is speaking about which types of people come to him. Chaturvida bhajante mam. Bhajante mam essentially means that these are people who worship him, connect with him. Chaturvida means there are four types. So Krishna calls these four people as Jana Sukritino Arjuna. So the word Sukriti means these are pious people, these are special people, these are fortunate people. So in the previous verse we discussed four types of people whom Krishna called as Duskritino. Duskritino means they are impious or they are unfortunate people. So here, which are the four types of people whom Krishna is speaking about? The first is known as Artho. Second is Jigyasur, Artharthi and Jnani. So we'll discuss what each of these four essentially mean. But before we discuss what these four mean, there is a very interesting definition of bhakti in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is a very special book which is known as the Nectar of Devotion. So in this book, Srila Rupa Goswami, he defines what bhakti is. So he says, Anya bilashita shunyam Jnana karmadi anavritam. Anukulena Krishnanu Sheelanam Bhakti Ruttama. So essentially, now if somebody says that I am a devotee, what does it mean? If somebody says that I am a bhakta, what does it mean? So the first thing that is needed as a qualification to call oneself as a devotee or a bhakta is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Abhilasha means desires. So everyone has unlimited desires. And sometimes we come to Krishna for the fulfillment of some desire. Today we are going to discuss these 4 types of people who come to Krishna. And interestingly, all the 4 of them, rather at least out of the 4, 3 of them have come to Krishna with desires. And out of the 3, 2 of them have come with massive desires. And you will find 99% of the people fall in these 2 categories, who come to Krishna with many abhilasha. So here, the definition of bhakti is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. That means, first thing that is needed to actually be calling yourself a bhakta is abhilasha should be shunya. Anya Abhilasha. What is the meaning of Anya Abhilasha? Anya Abhilasha means any desire other than desire to serve Krishna should be non-existent. And then it says Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. That means the desire to gain something, that is jnana and karma. So karma essentially means that doing some activity for material profit, some kind of profit making business, and so this should not be there in a devotee. And then the most important quality in a devotee is anukulyena krishnanu. So here, what it essentially means is that a devotee is somebody who does only those things that are anukul to Krishna. Anukul to his connection, his relationship with Krishna. What is the meaning of the word anukul? Anukul means favorable. Anukul means something that aids in growth of his relationship with Krishna. So that's how a devotee thinks. And such a person or such a devotion is called as Sheelanam Bhaktir Uttama. This is known as Uttam Bhakti, top class devotional service. Now, after establishing what is top class devotional service, now we will see these 4 categories of people. I will find that these 4 categories of people, they are not necessarily are top class devotees. They not necessarily are practicing with Anya Bilashita. They are not necessarily actually not having desire for jnana, karma, for results, material gains. But still, Krishna calls these people as Sukritino Arjuna. Calls these people as pious people. Why? The reason is because if somebody comes to Krishna with any motive, eventually his motive gets purified and his connection and relationship with Krishna remains. This is a fact. Anyone who comes to Krishna, even with the wrong motives, with the wrong intentions, he ends up getting purified. So the first kind of people are artho. Artho means distressed. People who are in trouble. I would say Bombay is a very conducive place for such category of people. High distress levels. Everyone is distressed about something. There are so many people who come to Krishna when they are in trouble. There was one family that used to come here to these classes, about 3-4 years before. And I used to see them every week. Of course, they came because they were going through a very tough phase in their personal lives. And what they were going through was really intense. So, both of them were staying in US for many years. Somehow, they had a first child while in US. And the child died just before being born. Very sad, naturally. First child died. Then they had another child after a few years. And this baby was born, very beautiful. In about 10 or 12 days, the child died in her sleep only, right in front of their eyes. It turned blue and she died. They could do nothing for the child. Both of them were completely heartbroken. And exactly at that point of time, this person lost his job also. So he was completely going through a crazy phase. And he used to come here every day. Literally, I would see him at 10 o'clock in the morning. Almost every second day I would see him, He would sit in the temple hall with the Bhagavad Gita in his hand, constantly crying. Constantly crying. So I spent a lot of time with him, trying to help them understand. They kept having this doubt, why did Krishna do this to us? Why did God do this to us? Of course, they would keep coming with some hope that someday, things will be fine. So somehow after coming, they started chanting, they started connecting with devotees, they started coming for classes. And at a certain point, maybe after some months, this Mataji again, she got pregnant. And eventually after a few months, she actually delivered a baby. Very healthy, very sweet. They were thrilled, But the interesting thing was, after the child was born, they went missing. I just couldn't find them ever coming to the temple, Till now, I'm waiting to see where they are. Typical category of artho. As soon as their problems get solved, they just completely, forget Krishna. There are many people in this world who come in this category of crisis, where crisis bring them to Krishna. Whether it is financial crisis, whether it is heartbreaks, whether it is health crisis, whether it is failures in exams, Typically, our temple hall is crowded during the morning times. On some days, hundreds of students come, We know either results are coming or exam is coming, one of the two. So, people come to Krishna whenever they go through certain crises in their life. There was one man who came across devotees when they would distribute books, and this man was very, very upset with the devotee. They would keep asking him to buy books and all that. So somehow he was irritated. One day he decided, I'll teach these people a lesson. So what he did was, the next time he met the devotees, he pulled off a book from them and ran away with the book. He didn't pay them money. So he ran home all the way and he threw the book in one corner. So he was very happy, thinking that he taught these devotees a good lesson, And then, very soon, he got a call from his mother. His mother called him and told him that his father is admitted in the hospital, he's got a heart attack. So this guy ran to the hospital. As he was on his way to the hospital, he got a call from his girlfriend. And his girlfriend told him, I'm leaving you, I'm going with somebody else. So his first father got a heart attack, now he got a heart attack, Very sad, So when he reached the hospital, another big shock was waiting for him. He saw that his father is admitted in the hospital. His mother was admitted in the next bed. He said, what happened suddenly? Just now he spoke to her about an hour before. And then he realized that his mother, after speaking to him, she fell off the stairs and her teeth went into her lips. So she was going to get admitted and she was going through surgery now. This guy was going crazy, Father got heart attack. Now mother is going through an operation. Now he got a heart attack. Now he didn't know how to handle all this, stress. So he decided, now I have to go and take some drugs, because a very heavy drug addict. He said, till I forget all these problems, I can't survive. So this particular story happened in Italy, and the particular place in which he was living, it was like a drug capital. Every nook and corner you would get drugs. This guy went to one store after another which sold drugs. Literally, after going through every place in that town, he couldn't find even one place where drug supply was there. He said in the history of his life that this has never happened. That drugs are not available at all. And that particular day, All these problems coming together, you know. Father going through heart attack, mother being hospitalized, his girlfriend leaving him, no drugs available. So he was in anxiety. So he came home and dropped on his chair. He was crying literally. Exactly at that time, his eyes fell on that book that he had thrown. And somehow he felt inspired to pick up the book. So he picked up the book and saw the cover of the book. And the cover of the book, the title said, Laws of Nature. There's Srila Prabhupada's books on the concept of karma, you know. This man, he read that book cover to cover, sitting on his chair. And everything that Srila Prabhupada said in that book that day made perfect sense to him. Because he was actually going through so much in his life. And that's when he decided that he should really connect with Krishna and try to revive his relationship with Krishna. So most people in this life are like this person who are looking for some alternative when they go through crisis. One of the things that I have noticed is when people come to hear Gita classes, when people come for spiritual to the temple or whatever, everyone comes with a big baggage. And everyone feels that here is a place where I can either drop my baggage or I can find some solutions to my problems of life. And literally, when they come to a place like this, they actually have a lot of hopes. Many times, when the crises get resolved, when Krishna actually helps them deal with their problems in different ways, through his devotees, sometimes through his personal intervention, what really happens many times is people tend to forget Krishna after the distress is gone. So, first category of people who come to Krishna are artho. But this category of people, this reason for coming to Krishna is a little dangerous reason, because the moment that reason gets fulfilled, you might tend to forget Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very beautiful story of Gajendra, the elephant. Gajendra, he was a king of elephants. He had a huge army of disciples. He had a huge family, wives, children. He was a king. He had so much prosperity. One day, Gajendra was going on a holiday with all his family, with all his children. And as he was having fun in a beautiful lake, when he expected it the least, when he was enjoying the most, a crocodile came and caught his leg. That's exactly what happens to us in our lives. Distress or pain doesn't happen when you are already expecting it. When you expect pain and it happens, it's not such a big deal. When you least expect it happens, that's when it pains the most. I'll tell you, life is so unpredictable. Anytime you can get that phone call and the direction of your life changes completely. Anytime anything can happen. So these crocodiles that Gajendra faced, these crocodiles are there all over. And we can face these crocodiles at any point of time. It's not that the crocodile will phone you and tell you, I'm coming. Be prepared, It's not the crocodile will tell you that, this particular, the crocodile is not going to set an appointment with you, I'll meet you in this particular place at this particular time, be ready. The crocodile can come in the form of an accident at any point of time. Accident doesn't mean that it's going to happen, it happens, Accident just means that it can happen at any point of time. The crocodile can come in the form of a heartbreak. The crocodile can come in the form of a business failure. The crocodile can come in the form of a health failure. It can come in any form. So the question is, when Gajendra faced this crocodile, the first phase, if you study this particular chapter, particular story, he tried his best to deal with his problem. He tried his own strength to get rid of the crocodile. He tried to use the strength of his family, his friends, his soldiers, his army. He tried to use the influence of his wealth to get rid of the crocodile. He tried practically every possible means to get rid of this crocodile, called distress, called problem. And no matter how much he tried, the crocodile just became worse and more gripping, more captivating, more powerful. And that's when he realized There are some problems that are beyond us. There are some problems that cannot be solved with our intelligence and our abilities. We need to take shelter of something higher, some higher power. And that's when Gajendra decided to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So it's very interesting. How did Gajendra decide to take shelter of the Lord? And how did Gajendra, as an elephant, remember so many prayers? If you study this particular section of Gajendra Moksha in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the elephant Gajendra makes some amazing prayers. We always wonder, how can an elephant pray like this? There is a background story behind that. In his previous life, this Gajendra was a king named Indradumna. And as Indradumna, this king, every single day, he would offer a golden lotus, 1,000-petaled golden lotus to Vishnu. Every single day. That was his service to the Lord. And he would offer elaborate prayers, glorifying the Supreme Lord. So in the next life, as Gajendra, as an elephant, he remembered every single of those prayers. That's the nature of bhakti. Whatever devotion is done in one's previous life, it doesn't go off. It doesn't wither away. It doesn't let you go. You don't have to redo it all over again. Every single act of devotion remains an eternal credit balance in your account. The next life, as Gajendra, immediately he was able to recollect at the time of his greatest need. And interestingly, in that lake, as Gajendra was struggling against the crocodile, there was one lotus flower in the close vicinity. Why did that lotus flower appear over there? Because Lord Vishnu, seeing that he offered so many hundreds of golden lotuses, he allowed one lotus flower to be there, which Gajendra picked up and offered to the Supreme Lord. Because in that situation, what could he offer? He had nothing else, no access to anything else. So which essentially means that even if somebody is distressed, which are those people who come to Krishna? Only those who are Sukritino. That means who have had a previous connection with Krishna, who have had a previous connection with the Supreme Lord in some way or the other. Otherwise, there are so many distressed people. How many of them actually come to a Hare Krishna temple? You don't find all the arthos coming here. Unless and until you have a connection with Krishna previously and you go through distress, you will not really think of coming to Krishna. That's the first category of people who come to Krishna. The second category of people who come to Krishna are known as Artharthi. That means they come for some benefit. Here are a category of people who come to Krishna because they want money. They are interested in rokda. They are interested in some kind of gain, basically. Especially in situations like Bombay, financial capital of India. So many people come to Krishna thinking that he is Lakshmipati, thoda hamare upar bhi daya kar lenge. So here he is not necessarily in crisis, but he is looking for something higher. Many people come to Lakshmi Puja, as I always say, is very popular because it gives you immediate benefits. So there are many people who come to Krishna looking for wealth, understanding that Krishna is the master of all wealth in this world. And when this need is fulfilled, they many times go away. The Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about a very beautiful story of a small boy who was having such a desire, Artharthi. The story is about a small boy named Dhruva. His father was a king named Uttanapad. And he was a very powerful king and he had a huge kingdom. So Uttanapad, he had two wives, Suruchi and Suniti. Whenever there is a partiality, there is always going to be somebody who is hurt. So Uttanapad, he loved his wife Suruchi more, and he didn't really love his other wife Suniti so much. So Suniti's son was Dhruva and Suruchi had a son whose name was Uttama. So one day these two boys were playing in the court. The king was sitting on the throne and Uttama went and sat on the father's lap. And Suruchi happened to be in the palace. So Dhruva, he also felt tempted to go and sit on his father's lap. So he ran up. As he ran up to sit on his father's lap, the stepmother of Dhruva, Suruchi, she commented. She said, "You can't sit on your father's lap. Only Uttama can sit. If you want to sit on your father's lap, you should take birth from my womb. Only then you can sit on your father's lap." Now Dhruva, he was the son of a Kshatriya, very hurt. And he was feeling so angry that he was denied the right of sitting on his father's lap. Now, for a small child, wanting to sit on a father's lap is not something wrong. It's not something too much, over expectation, When you have rights in a certain relationship, having a small amount of expectation is not wrong at all. So here, Dhruva, he was trying to run up to sit on the father's lap and his stepmother was chastising like anything. And finally Suruchi, she told him, if you want to sit on your father's lap, you go and pray to Lord Narayan, and in your next birth, you pray that you are born from my womb so that you can sit on your father's lap. She actually told him he should die and then take another birth again. Dhruva, he was very hurt and went to his mother, Suniti, and told her that this is what she said. Suniti, she couldn't help him. So she told him that there is only one person who can actually help you in this world. I can't help you for sure. The only person who can help you is Lord Narayan. And she told him, Lord Narayan does not only have the power to help you, but he also has a heart to help you. She said, Narayan has the heart like millions of mothers put together. All of us are looking for somebody who can understand us. Almost every person in this world, at least as many people as I have come across, have one complaint. Somebody I love doesn't understand me only. Constant complaint. No matter who you are, complaint is there. So Suniti, she understood. Dhruva is trying to tell her, why don't you help me? So Suniti is very frankly telling, I can't help you. The only person who can help you is Lord Narayan. He not only has the power to help you, but he also has a desire to help you. His heart is like millions of mothers put together. Dhruva, at that point of time, decided to go towards Lord Narayan. But interestingly, what was the reason he wanted to go to Lord Narayan? So he had an agenda. His agenda was, he wanted a kingdom much bigger than Lord Brahma. So he said, I don't want now sit on my father's lap. That desire is gone. Now I want a kingdom much bigger than my great grandfather Brahma. So now he has a new desire to take revenge on his father, on his stepmother, on his stepbrother, on everybody. Why? He wanted to prove that I don't need y'all. I have something much more than y'all. So with this desire, he went into the forest. I mean, somebody can have a desire of getting a few crore rupees, becoming a lakpati or a crorepati. Somebody can have a desire of becoming a millionaire, becoming an industrialist, becoming owner of jet airplanes, whatever. Look at his desire. His desire was, I want a kingdom greater than Brahma also. So you can imagine the amount of desire that he had, when he went to Lord Narayan. So on the way, he met Narad Muni. And Narad Muni tried to dissuade him like anything, discourage him like anything. But Dhruva was very determined that he wants to achieve his goal. But he told Narad Muni, I want to achieve my goal, but I don't want to achieve it by dishonest means. Tell me a honest way of achieving my goal. I mean, that's interesting. Because most people who want to achieve such goals, they want shortcuts. They want, a way out so that I can easily get this goal. Dhruva said, tell me a honest way of achieving this goal. So then Narad Muni told him the process of worshipping Lord Narayan. And Dhruva followed the process very intensely for 6 months. the kind of austerities that Dhruva was doing was increasing month after month. The first month he would eat fruits in the forest. The second month he stopped eating fruits. He would eat only leaves in the forest. The third month he stopped eating leaves also. He would drink water once in 3 days. Then the fourth month he stopped drinking water also. He would breathe air once in 6 days. And then the fifth month he stopped breathing air also. Once in 9 days he would take a little breath. And by the 6th month he stopped that also. You can imagine the amount of intensity of his tapasya was increasing day after day. At a certain point, Dhruva became so intense. If somebody doesn't eat at all after many days and weeks, you generally become like emaciated like bones. Dhruva was externally becoming like bones only, emaciated completely. But his weight was increasing. Under the pressure of his feet, under his weight, this earth was sinking. You can imagine, where is his weight coming from? It's definitely not his body weight. It's the weight of his tapasya. And actually the Supreme Lord appeared in front of Dhruva and asked him, tell me what you want. So then eventually Dhruva, he offered his prayers. When he saw Lord Narayan standing in front of him, Dhruva completely lost his words. Nothing came out of his mouth. So Lord Narayan touched a conch shell on his head. And Dhruva started offering lots of prayers, glorifying the Supreme Lord. So after sufficiently glorifying the Lord asked him, tell me what you want. Dhruva, he gave a very interesting answer. And this summarizes what is the Artharthi. Dhruva told Lord Narayan that, my dear Lord, I came here searching for broken pieces of glass. And now that I have seen you, I have got a rare diamond. Now I don't want those broken pieces of glass. Dhruva refused to ask Lord Narayan anything. So Lord Narayan told him, anybody who comes to me with a desire, I fulfill the desire. So Narayan gave Dhruva a planet of his own called Dhruva Loka. He told him, as long as this universe exists, the Dhruva Loka will exist. Even now we can see that the star is called the pole star. That is Dhruva's planet. And Dhruva ruled on that planet for 36,000 years. So Dhruva was not interested in ruling anymore. He was not interested in the kingdom anymore. He was not interested in wealth anymore. But when you go to Krishna with the desire for wealth, with the desire for name and fame, whatever, Krishna will fulfill the desire for sure. But Dhruva, when he ruled the kingdom with all that wealth and opulence, he was not affected by that wealth anymore. Because he had got a higher wealth of connecting with the Supreme Lord. This is the advantage of coming to Krishna even with a material desire. Eventually, your desire gets purified and your connection with Krishna remains. In the next session, when we discuss, we're going to discuss another concept which Krishna talks about. This is the difference between coming to Krishna and going to some demigod. In the next section, we will actually talk about Krishna making comparative analysis of those who come to him and those who go to a demigod. What is the difference between the two? And what is the difference in the gains between the two? So here is an example of somebody who has come to Krishna with the desire for wealth. Krishna has fulfilled that desire for wealth. But more than that, he has purified him of the desire. Which is something which is unique to Krishna. The third category of people who come to Krishna are known as Jigyasu. Jigyasu means people who are inquisitive. करना कुछ नहीं है, पूछते रहते हैं बस सवाल. There are many people who come like this, to a temple. Every time you give a class, they have a question to ask. You ask them, how many questions you get answers for, do you follow it in your life? No interest in following. Inquisitiveness. Lot of inquisitiveness. आपका मत क्या है? वो पूछने के लिए आया है basically. So they are not interested in knowing what I have to do. They want to know what your opinion is. I will do what I want to do. Typically, people they ask this question: कृष्णा विष्णु से आते हैं या विष्णु कृष्ण से आते हैं? What difference it makes to you, you know? I am stuck at this point, you know. They just cannot progress only beyond that. भी कृष्णा विष्णु से आते हैं, विष्णु कृष्ण से, आपके जीवन में कुछ फर्क पड़ने वाला है क्या? है कि नहीं? So they are not interested in what to do. They only want to argue. They only want to discuss, you know. So there are many people who come with jigyasu or inquisitiveness, but if they come in the right mood, then this also helps them go to the next step. Like for example, there was one devotee in Germany, and he narrated how he became a devotee. Very interesting story, you know. So this boy, before they connected with ISKCON, they used to live, you know, he and his girlfriend, they would live together, and every weekend they would go to different places to explore, to have fun. So one weekend they didn't have any place to go. They had explored all places. Somebody told them, go to ISKCON. You get good food over there, you know. So Sunday they decided, chalo, bored ho raha hai ghar pe, ISKCON jate hai. So they went to ISKCON, and after going there, this girl became very inspired, you know, by hearing the philosophy. Somebody preached to her, and she became a devotee. She started following, you know, the process, chanting 16 rounds, following related principles. And this fellow didn't become a devotee. This fellow didn't connect. So that visit was very costly for them, you know. So now both of them, you know, they are having totally different lifestyles. This guy is not interested at all in Krishna consciousness. This girl is like super interested in becoming a solid devotee. So this fellow decided, now I have to somehow pull her out of this ISKCON, you know. So he said, the only way to pull her out is if I find faults in ISKCON. So he said, I will now find all faults in their philosophy. So he bought the Bhagavad Gita, started reading Bhagavad Gita, thinking that he'll find all the flaws in it, and he will convince her logically to come out of it. This guy, after reading Bhagavad Gita intensely to find faults, he also became a devotee. You know? Very interesting, you know. Jigyasu, you know. You come with a inquisitiveness to find faults in Krishna also, you get converted. There was one fellow who wanted to put a tattoo on his body. Big tattoo on his back. But he didn't want a regular tattoo. He wanted something extraordinary. You know, he didn't want like a... So one day, as he was trying to explore all these different designs of tattoo and all, he came across the Bhagavad Gita, and he saw Sanskrit verses. He said, wow, this Sanskrit looks very different. These people don't have any access to, you know, Sanskrit. So he was very fascinated. So he said, I want the best verse of the Bhagavad Gita to find which verse to put on my body as a tattoo, you know. This guy read the whole Bhagavad Gita to find the best verse to put a tattoo on his body, you know. And by reading the Bhagavad Gita to put a tattoo on his body, this guy became a devotee eventually, you know. And he actually got completely transformed. Of course, I don't know whether he actually put a tattoo or no, but the Bhagavad Gita got etched in his heart at least. There was one fellow who was born in a Muslim family. And this guy, he had a question. And he would ask this question to anybody. And most people, when you'd ask this question, they would get so irritated with him, they would actually kick him out. He would go to every mosque and ask this question to the Maulavi. You know what question he would ask? The question he would ask is God everywhere? They would say, yes, naturally, God is everywhere. Then he would say, if God is everywhere, is he there in stool also? The Maulavis, they would get so upset, so angry. So you're blaspheming God. How can you ever even ask this question that God is there in stool? And nobody could answer him. So he went to mosques, he went to churches, he went to temples, he went to so many places to find out answer to this question. He said, I'm not ready to accept the fact unless somebody can answer this question. Is God there in stool? लोगों को देखो क्या क्या question है. I mean, who would ever think of such a question? Is God there in stool also? So this guy, now eventually he got a job in US and he was living in America. And he naturally completely gave up his religious beliefs because he couldn't get an answer to this question. And he started drinking. He used to go to pubs every night. And one particular day, he was completely drunk. And he was in a pub. And he was so drunk that the people eventually in the pub, they picked him up and threw him in a room. It's like a go-down type of place, basically. Because he was creating a scene. So when they threw him into the room, he fell into this room, completely drunk, completely, not in his stable consciousness. In that room was very dark. In that room, there was only one streak of light coming. And this streak of light, it fell on a book. And somehow his eyes fell on that, the statement that was written on the book. And what he saw, he got the shock of his life. You know what was written in that book? He saw a Back to Godhead magazine. ISKCON's Back to Godhead magazine. And in bold letters it was written, God is present everywhere, even in stool. This guy couldn't believe what he read, And then when he read that statement, he completely got, he was completely mesmerized. Though he was so drunk, he got conscious. All that drinking, And he picked up the book and he read the entire article. And that article was about how God is present everywhere. And this is a very interesting article because it is about Varahadev, the boar incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And this article went on to explain that how the Supreme Lord can take any form. He can take the form of a pig also. And though he takes the form of a pig, though he may be in the body of a pig, but he is not a regular pig. He is a transcendental boar. And it explains that how when Varahadev was in the form of this huge boar, and he went to pick up the Garbhodaka, the earth from the Garbhodaka ocean. It's a very dirty place. So he picked up the earth on his tusks. But interestingly, so Varahadev took that form of the boar because he had to go to a dirty place to pick up that earth. So he takes the form according to the reason, or rather the leela, the pastime that has to be exhibited. After putting the earth back into its orbit, Varahadev, he shook his body just like boars. Now, if a boar is shaking his body after coming out from a gutter, how many people would want to be in the vicinity? In the range of the boar. Nobody can even think of going in that direction. If a pig comes out from a gutter, people run in another direction. When it will shake its body, God knows. So when Varahadev came out from this Garbhodaka ocean, his body was completely wet and he shook his body. The drops of water fell all over the universe. And when these drops of water from the body of Varahadev fell on the sages, it is explained that the sages manifested ecstatic symptoms. They actually started experiencing the love of God. So you can imagine what difference in the pigs, basically. Very different personality. So this article went on to explain how God cannot be contaminated by the contaminations of this world. God is beyond contaminations, and in fact, He can purify the most dirtiest of places. When this man read this article, he was completely convinced that this makes sense to me. And then this fellow, he actually started connecting with ISKCON devotees, and he eventually became a full-fledged devotee, though being born in a Muslim background. There was another carpenter. He was working in an ISKCON temple, making furniture basically for the temple. And all day long he was working, and in the evening he saw devotees coming back from book distribution. When he saw the faces of the devotees coming back from after book distribution, after a whole day being out on the streets and distributing books, this man, he couldn't believe that people can be so happy. He said, "What did you all do to be so happy?" They told him, "We were distributing books of Krishna all day long." This fellow said, "I can do anything to become so happy." So he started asking questions, And then eventually, just by asking questions of how these people are happy, he became a devotee. So essentially, jigyasu means inquisitive. Those who have questions. If you have questions, but you ask the questions with the right mood, then those questions can help you connect with Krishna very deeply. But if you have questions, but if you just want to ask questions without any, desire to follow, without the right attitude, those questions can actually just be useless, a waste of time. The Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a story of the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi. So there were thousands of sages who came to Naimisharanya with this desire to ask, to seek answers. And all these thousands of sages, the only thing they did sitting in Naimisharanya was ask questions. But because they asked questions with the right attitude, with the right mood, and they asked questions to the right person, they actually got purified completely and perfected their life. The fourth type of people who come to Krishna are the Gyanis. So Gyanis means those who are seeking knowledge. So there is a difference between Jigyasu and Gyani. Jigyasu means inquisitive. They just have lot of doubts. Gyani means actually they are wise people, very knowledgeable people. They are very deep people. So these are the best customers to come to Krishna. They actually come to Krishna seeking God. They actually come to Krishna seeking something higher. They don't come to Krishna for something, cheap. They are not distressed. They don't come to Krishna because they are in stress, they are in anxiety. They don't come to Krishna because they want something, wealth from Krishna, they want some benefits from Krishna. They don't even come to Krishna because they have lots of doubts. They come to Krishna because they want to connect with Krishna. They want to know more about Krishna. And they want to really go deeper in their understanding of Krishna. Just like a telescope, if you see a telescope is a very interesting instrument because it has two lenses, one in the beginning and one in the end. But the telescope has two lenses, one in the beginning and one in the end. But actually the telescope has many lenses in between. So the first lens is for you to see, and the last lens is the outermost lens. But it's explained, the more lenses that are there in between the first and the last lens, the more clarity you have of your destination, of your goal. If you're seeing a planet very far away, the more lenses that are there in between, the clearer you can see further. Krishna is very far away from us. God is very far away from us. If we want to see Him, we need a telescope. But the telescope has to have many lenses in between. What are these many lenses? They are the different teachers that we connect with. So for most people, they only want them and God. बीच में कुछ नहीं चाहिए, कोई नहीं चाहिए, हम और भगवान, बीच में हट जाओ. So most people feel that they don't like middlemen. They don't like people in between. But the fact is that if you don't have people in between, your clarity of God will be less. And the more people you have in between, the more you will have clarity of who God is and how to connect with Him. And therefore, whenever somebody does a business, the first thing we need to find is a good capitalist who is ready to invest. So, in this world, people don't want anybody in between us and God. But unfortunately, for us to get into this business of connecting with God, we need somebody who can invest the first capital. And that investment of the first capital comes from devotees who are having actually knowledge about Krishna, who actually already have their connection with Krishna, and they can help us establish our connection with Krishna strongly. So the tendency of the conditioned soul is, the false ego is very strong. And naturally, when the false ego is very strong, you can't connect with somebody as a servant. When you come to a spiritual path, the first things that we are told is that we need to become a humble servant of the devotees. That's something very difficult for somebody who is, egoistic. Somebody who is a jnani is somebody who is ready to subordinate himself to acquire knowledge about God. We find in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4 people who are known as Chatur Kumar. They are in the category of jnanis. So these are people who are not having any distress. They are not, desirer of wealth. They are not inquisitive also, but they are they have a lot of the desire to connect with Krishna on a deeper level. So according to Baldev Vidyabhushan, it is explained those who are distressed, those who are artho and artharthi, distressed and seekers of wealth, eventually become inquisitive. That means they come to Krishna seeking wealth and seeking relief from distress, but after coming to Krishna, they actually start asking questions. And then from Jigyasu, they become Jnanis, or they become knowledgeable, and then they connect with Krishna deeply. Therefore, it is explained that out of the 4 categories of people that we saw, the 4th category is the best. Jnanis are the best category of people who can connect with Krishna. The other 3, yes, they definitely have a great potential of connecting with Krishna. But there is also a possibility that they may go away from Krishna after their particular desire is fulfilled. If somebody is distressed, he comes to Krishna. If their stress goes away, the reason for the stress goes away, they disappear. If somebody is desiring wealth, comes to Krishna, he gets wealth, he disappears. If somebody is connecting with Krishna for inquisitiveness, a lot of questions, once their doubts get solved, they disappear. But those who are jnanis, they stay. We'll just read verse number 17 and 18, the translations quickly, and then we will take up the last verse, which is a very interesting verse. Krishna says, of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. So here, Krishna is very clearly saying that the jnani are the ones who are most dear to him. And then Krishna continues by saying, all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and the most perfect goal. So here we find Krishna is saying that all the 4 are magnanimous souls. So when we see that Krishna is saying that, what does it mean? That means even if you are a artho, even if you are distressed, even if you are a artharthi, even if you are a seeker of wealth, don't go here and there, come to Krishna. If you come to Krishna, in spite of you being in a need, Krishna considers you to be magnanimous. Why? Because if you come to Krishna, there is a good chance you will get purified and perfect your life. And then Krishna says that the one who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Can you imagine? That means just by sitting and hearing about Krishna, gaining knowledge about Krishna, Krishna considers that person to be like himself only. And then Krishna says, being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and the most perfect goal. What does it mean? It means somebody who comes only to gain knowledge about Krishna initially, eventually he ends up doing service to Krishna also. So knowledge has to convert into action. If knowledge doesn't convert into action, that means your knowledge is very incomplete. There are many people who come to hear Bhagavad Gita, but they don't want to follow anything that is being told. They have the mind of their own. So they feel that we know how to live life. Right? This person can add a little knowledge to my life. That's it. But when we actually come to hear the message of Gita, and with the consciousness, with the desire that I am ready to follow every word that is being told here, then that knowledge converts into action. And that action ends up pleasing Krishna like anything. And the last verse for today, we'll just chant this verse together. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadite. Krishna says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So here, Krishna, he talks about who is a Mahatma. So in today's time and age, people call anybody Mahatma, Mahatma is like a title today. But here is a definition of who is a Mahatma. Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyate. Vasudevam sarvamiti. Somebody who after many, many lifetimes comes to this conclusion that Vasudevam sarvamiti. Vasudev Krishna is everything. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a rare soul is called a Mahatma. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Durlabha means rare. Sudurlabha means extremely rare. Such a person is called a Mahatma. And therefore, look at our fortune. So those who are Artho and Artharthi come to Krishna for a reason, and eventually they get purified and they start asking questions. They become Jigyasu. And then eventually they become Gyanis. They become knowledgeable. And after being knowledgeable, they start performing devotional service. Look at our fortune. We didn't go through this whole cycle at all, and we straight away started doing devotional service by chanting the holy names of the Lord, by connecting with Krishna through the process of deity worship, by having darshan of the Lord. All these are activities of devotional service. So that means, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Srila Prabhupada, a devotee becomes higher than a jnani. Krishna says, somebody who has full knowledge of me, such a person is extremely rare. Sa Mahatma Su Durlabha. And then, when somebody becomes a devotee, he goes one step further in the process. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he defines or he talks about how a devotee is greater than a jnani also. So jnani is somebody who concludes that Vasudeva is everything, Krishna is everything. But a devotee, he is not just stuck at the conclusion that Krishna is everything. He actually begins to love Krishna. He actually begins to connect with Krishna on a much deeper level and develops a much deeper relationship with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, he would many times say that what is the most beautiful thing in this world? The most beautiful thing in this world can be a blue lotus. If somebody has seen a blue lotus, exquisitely beautiful. Or the full moon, exquisitely beautiful. But Prabhupada would say, Krishna is better than a blue lotus and a full moon. Because blue lotus blooms only during the day. And the full moon comes only during the night. But Krishna is present all the time. And therefore comparing anything with the beauty of Krishna is useless. Somebody who is a devotee, he goes much deeper than what a jnani is. Jnani means somebody who has no emotions at all. He is very stable, he is a Atmaram. Atmaram means unaffected by emotions. Just like, one time Maharaj was giving a very interesting class. He was talking about how even after practicing so many years of bhakti yoga, some emotions don't go away. Like I know devotees who are in our temple last 15 years. But even now, they keep track of cricket scores. They know exactly which match who is winning. Especially the World Cup. And they know exactly who has scored what runs. I many times wonder how do they get all this information. Very updated sometimes. And emotions also very strong. The day India wins, everybody celebrates. Sometimes devotees also celebrate. But Atmaram is somebody who doesn't get affected by emotions at all. Just like Shukadeva Goswami, he was an Atmaram. He was a Jnani, very, very exalted personality. He had so much control over his emotions and over his mind and body that is explained that if sugar is placed on his tongue, the sugar would not melt, remains as it is. I mean, if sugar is put on the tongue, sugar immediately mouth starts watering and the sugar melts. Shukadeva Goswami was such an exalted personality that even if sugar was put on his tongue, it would not melt at all. Just remain as it is. That was the kind of control that he had over his emotions and over his senses. But even such a Shukadeva Goswami, when he connected with Krishna, he went mad with his emotions. He got affected by the emotions. And therefore, when we come to Krishna, somebody who comes to the Supreme Lord, such a person, he actually gets connected on a very deep level. And therefore, it is very important that one develops that love for Krishna. And how does one develop the love for Krishna? The way in which we develop our love for Krishna is by developing our love and affection for the devotees of Krishna. Because directly, we may not be able to develop our love for Krishna that easily. It's not possible. It takes its own sweet time. But when we connect with the devotees of Krishna, develop love for the devotees of Krishna, then through the medium of the devotees of Krishna, we can develop our love for Krishna eventually. When we take a cotton and brasso, powder, and scrub brass, the brass begins to shine like anything, but the cotton becomes black. Ganga, when it comes to the material world, it's extremely pure originally. But when she comes down to the material world, and there are thousands of people who have bath in the Ganga and they deposit all their sin and contaminations in the Ganga, how does the Ganga get purified of its contaminations? The Ganga gets purified of its contamination when great saintly devotees have bath in the Ganga. So, when great saintly devotees have bath in the Ganga, they don't have bath in the Ganga to purify themselves. They have bath in the Ganga to purify the river. That's how exalted the devotees of the Lord are. And that's how important it is for us to connect with the devotees and purify ourselves through that connection. And by developing our love for devotees, we eventually develop our love for Krishna also. And therefore, we need the spiritual master, the great devotees of the Lord, to help us develop our connection with Krishna very strongly. Just to summarize everything I spoke, we started speaking about, last time we spoke about 4 classes of people who reject Krishna. The first are Moodha, or grossly foolish people. So these people, their lack of surrender is because of ignorance. So they just cannot understand anything about spiritual knowledge because they are so absorbed in the concept of enjoyment. The second category of people are Naradhama, the lowest of mankind. That means they are not inclined to understand anything higher. Naradhama means there is a total lack of interest in something deeper. They are just interested in superficial things. So that means they have the human form of life which is so rare, but they don't take advantage of the human form of life. And they just waste their life. The third category of people who don't come to Krishna are Maya Aparata Jnana. That means these are extremely intellectual people. Intellectual prowess is very, very high. So the second category of people, the Naradhamas, they lack intellectual abilities. And the Maya Aparata Jnana, they have too much intellectual abilities. So when they try to understand the Gita or the principles of Krishna consciousness, they analyze too much. And they don't really understand the essence of it at all. The fourth category of people are who stay away from God are Asurim. That means in their heart they have hatred towards God. And despite of seeing logical evidence of the presence of God, the hatred is so much, the envy is so much, they just cannot accept God. The 4 types of people who come towards Krishna and accept Lord Krishna, they are Artho, those who are in distress. Artharthi means those who are looking for material gains or prosperity. The third is Jigyasu, that means those who are inquisitive in nature. And the fourth is Jnani, that means those who are seeking knowledge. And Krishna, he summarizes all this by talking about who is the best of all the 8 categories of people. And he says that one who is seeking knowledge is the best, the Jnani is the best, because after many, many lifetimes, somebody who is a Jnani comes to this conclusion that Vasudevam Sarvamiti. So somebody comes to the conclusion that Vasudev Krishna is everything. And Krishna says such a soul is very, very rare, and such a soul is called a Mahatma. And then Krishna speaks about how such a soul, such a Mahatma, he comes to him and he doesn't stop at the level of just gaining knowledge, but he actually converts the knowledge into action, and he actually performs devotional service. And such a Mahatma, such a person becomes even more rarer by taking up the process of devotional service. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.